On this week's episode, you do not want to miss our conversation around belief systems and how valuable men truly are. You're listening to the Joshua Mentality. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Joshua Mentality. So good to have you all another week on this wonderful hump day. This is week 42 as we continue our countdown of the year 2021, as I continue to try to stress you out from one week to the other with this countdown. But hopefully it's motivating. Hopefully it's creating a sense of urgency, because that's the real goal. You know, my profession as a coach, I want to light a fire under your butt a little bit if I can. And that's my way of doing so, all right? This has been a great week. And I say that like I'm not sure, but I really am. I'm sure that this has been a great week. Number one, because the weather down here in Florida has just been unbelievable. I don't even feel like I'm in Florida, which is hard, to believe when you talk about weather. And number two, and this is for all my sports buffs. Some of y'all are going to, throw up in your mouth just hearing me talk about sports, but my boy Dak Prescott got signed this week. I'm a major Dallas Cowboys fan, if you all didn't know. Some of you are turn off the episode as I make this announcement because you hate the Cowboys so much. But hey, I'm sorry. I must tell you the truth. And the truth is, America's team is the greatest. All right? So don't at me. Don't send me no messages. I don't want to hear it. We can talk about that in another forum. But for today, for this episode, can I tell y'all, this has been like a burning platform, what I'm about to get into today. A burning platform. So I will say at the forefront, if you are someone who is easily offended, or you don't like some of these tougher topics, this is not the episode for you. Because we are going to jump into a topic that I think is a little bit of a trigger for some people. But if you know me long enough, then you know very well I don't really care about triggers. I like to stand on what I believe and the foundations of my life. And those foundations are rooted in the core four mentalities that we talk about every week or every other week. That's faith, success, defining success, identity, purpose, strengths, gifts, talents. So success. The third one is leadership. And the fourth is wealth. Those are the four core areas. And I stand on those. I don't care what triggers that leads to. And so if you're a regular listener, you will know that this is not the typical speed or tone to a normal show. And that's on purpose. This is a little bit different, or very different, for a good reason, because this is a subject that I think we talk about life purpose here on this podcast every week. And every week, my goal is to add something to your life that would enhance, that would edify, that would encourage, and kind of lift up your life purpose and reflect the value of your life purpose. And that's what this conversation is, because I think this conversation gets to one of the core areas of mentality and life purpose. So with that, I also think it's important to note that while, man, I have just a fantastic group of lady listeners who support this podcast. And I've been asked this before, so I want to reiterate it on this episode. The target audience of this podcast is men, specifically like young men. And I count young as anything below 50, because I think young is, everything below 50 is young, and then 50 is middle age. And then after that, you're old. I'm sorry. And that's okay. Old is good. Old is wise. So don't take offense to that. But that's how I look at it. This is geared towards men, not to exclude the women. I hope that women are still getting something out of this. And I'm thankful for the support of the ladies who tune in every week. But this is geared towards men, because when the idea of the Joshua mentality came to my mind, came to my heart, one of the leading factors or reasons, the purpose was that I believe if we can build and restore the mentality of our men, that has a great impact on the family. A great impact on the family structure. And I believe that the family structure is a key element, the most critical element to a thriving society, a thriving community, a thriving economy, all of the above. It starts with the family. And this has been kind of one of those burning platforms my whole life, because I believe that there are many cases where our men have kind of been short circuited or kind of got the short end of the stick. And there's other cases where some of our men have just abandoned their purpose. And I think one of the greatest indicators is when you just look around our nation. I think our nation out of the entire world has the highest percentage of single mom homes. The highest percentage out of the entire world. We're almost at a quarter, at 23% of homes where no fathers. My home was almost that. Thank God for the person that stepped in that gap and served as a father in my life, and whose last name I carry. But that was almost my story as well. So that's the reason, and I'm telling you that because I want you to know my heart. I want you to know that where I'm coming from, and that this is very much purpose centered. So, all right. So now that I've gotten that long disclaimer out of the way, let's jump into this week's topic. And I will start by saying I believe that one of the greatest detriments to a man's purpose is when his identity is attacked. One of the greatest detriments to a man's purpose is attacking that man's identity, because that leads to an influx of other things like confusion, like feelings of inadequacy, just uncertainty about your purpose. And one of the ways that a man's identity can be attacked is through belief systems. And that's why you've probably already realized the title of this episode is You Are What You Believe. And another way to say that is what you believe has a direct impact on your life purpose, or what you believe about your life purpose. Your belief system directly impacts how you live out your life purpose, how you see your life purpose. And so I guess that statement would lead us to the question, well, what forms our beliefs? How are our beliefs kind of formulated? And the best way, I'm going to get into some of my geek box here. But I want you, when we're talking about just the scientific aspect of things, you need to understand that our mind is an intelligent muscle. It is an intelligent muscle because our mind, it forms based on how we train it. Just like you can train your muscles in the gym through, frequency of exercise and regimen, you can do the same thing to your mind. The same way you can reprogram your body in 90 days, you can reprogram your mind in 90 days. And that's an important thing to know. Because if our belief systems impact our life purpose, we need to know how our belief systems are formulated. And the way our belief systems are formulated is through something called our subconscious. And our subconscious is really the decision maker in our lives. Your subconscious is really what you see your life, the kind of the lens you see your life purpose through. Your subconscious, I would say, if we were to see a picture of it, that's where your mentality, that's where that city of those 4 core mentality areas, that's where it would sit. It would sit right there in that subconscious, and all of your actions would derive from that area. And so a little bit more about the subconscious. This area, it guides our life, and it guides our life in specific directions, oftentimes without even giving us a choice, because it's subconscious, meaning that it's without our conscious kind of awareness of things even happening. If this is a new term to you. So when you get up in the morning, pay attention. There are certain things that you might do without even, or driving is probably another, a better example. There are certain things you do now when you drive that you don't really even have to think about. I mean, I find myself going left on a curve, and then I hit my signal, And I'm like, why in the world did I turn my signal on? That's the subconscious mind. I don't have to think about that. My subconscious mind knows if we're turning left or doing an action that feels like we're turning left, you hit that signal button. And that's important in today's conversation because it all starts with our reference point. Our reference point is what builds our beliefs and what sets and maintains our subconscious. So here's the first point. You need to determine what your reference point is going to be. For example, I will tell you, for me in my house, our reference point is the Word of God, which for those of you who are unfamiliar with that phraseology, that essentially means the Bible. And I don't care who agrees or disagrees. That's for me in my house. That's our reference point. That's where I go to determine what does it mean to be a man? What should a man look like, feel like? That's why I believe men should be compassionate. Men should be compassionate. Men should love and serve and honor, but men should also be strong and courageous and have a voice in the community and society. But what's your reference point? It doesn't have to be mine, but you better have one. Because if you don't have a reference point, what's going to happen is the more and more you allow these voices from others who, number one, may not even have a clue of what it means to be a man, but they will tell you what it means to be a man and how you should value you. And if you don't have a reference point, what's going to happen is through repetition, that's going to eventually settle into your subconscious and be what you filter life through. I'm telling you. You have to determine what your reference point is going to be. Because that reference point, that's a foundation for a strong mentality. That's a foundation that gives you the courage to speak up when maybe every other voice is telling you you shouldn't have an opinion on this subject. Determine your reference point. That reference point will guide you on who you really are. And here's why that's important. The reason why that's important is because nothing really distorts purpose like confusion. Nothing really distorts purpose like confusion. And if you don't have a strong reference point, you allow an opening for confusion about who you are. And confusion distorts your purpose. And when you don't really know what your purpose is and you feel confused about that limits the value, your perspective of your value in life. So you want to, and I'm not labeling anybody with this statement, but I'm speaking to what I've experienced and what I've known from my experience. The days of my life where I felt like I was just a zombie walking around this earth were the days where I was confused about who I was. Those are the days where I was walking around as an imposter instead of who I was created to be. I told y'all in other episodes, I was a buck, 49 exactly, wearing 36 pair of jeans and 2X shirts. Completely an imposter. Because my reference point was this lie about who I was supposed to be and what my value was supposed to be instead of the truth about who I actually was. And it wasn't until I aligned with the right reference point that those scales kind of fell off my eyes and I realized, no. This is a total devalue to who I am. And some of you listening to this, you've taken in and allowed these lies with these voices within your subconscious to kind of rule because your reference point is off. And I think I've spoken about this before, but I think it's good to revisit this and reiterate. One of the saving graces to your purpose is making sure you have the right reference point. Your next question might be, well, how do I know if I have the right reference point? Well, here's a great indication. If that reference point is not bearing fruit in your life, then that's a great indication that you need to change. Change references. In other words, when I was walking around with the way I described and with the mentality of that I was only here to chase women and go after this little shallow materialistic life, that bore no fruit. None. I just felt empty and walked around, like a zombie. That was a great indication that, you know what? I need to reassess my reference point here, because that's not even the reference point I was raised in. That's a reference point I adopted, and that's why I call it the imposter syndrome. And some of you are walking around with the same thing that I had, and you don't even realize it. You haven't even asked yourself, why do I do this? Why do I turn my blinker on when I'm going around the curve? But in other words, for you, why am I walking around? Why do I treat women this way? Why do I, talk this way, with this kind of language, with this level of dishonor to myself and other people? Why do I intake that into my body when I know it's destroying me? Why do I lay my eyes on that when I know it's destroying my mind? Why do I spend another day wasting time when I know the things that are burning in my heart and the things that I was created to do? And those things, what's the why behind them? What's the purpose? Is it to serve? Is it to be served or to serve? All these questions begin to come up when our reference point is off and we are down that slippery slope, living life as somebody who we are not, who we were not created to be, which essentially boils down to living life below your value. But young man, my brother, if you're listening to this, you are too valuable. You're too valuable for us to miss out on you because your reference point was misaligned. Because you allowed these lies in your subconscious to really guide your future. You're too valuable for that. So check it. Just determine what it's going to be. What's your reference point going to be? And maybe you've never thought about this, so maybe you don't even know what your reference point is. I got news. That's a great start. Start thinking it. I told you all a long episodes back about my friend Victor that asked me that question that day. Hey, why do you wear shirts like that? That was a question that made me check my reference. Because when I realized I didn't even know why I was doing that, I soon realized that this is the subconscious at work. I'm doing things that I don't even realize, and I'm just wasting good purpose. I'm talking to somebody. There are things you don't even realize that you're just doing on autopilot. And it's because it's in your subconscious and you're wasting purpose. Check your reference. Check your reference. Does that reference lead to the life that you want? I tell you what, when I started getting around families and fathers who were good fathers, who loved their children, I started realizing, man, that's the reference point I want right there. What's it for you? I spent a lot of time on that subject, on that particular topic, more than I wanted to. But I think that's crucial. Because, and here's how I wrap this conversation up today. The reason why I think that point alone is so crucial is because I see, as I look around society, I see more and more just this kind of diminishing image of men. This passive image of men. And it's directly kind of seeping into the root and the foundation of what we're seeing in the family structure, what we're seeing in our communities, in the absence of men, and how men are viewing their purpose in society. Well, I got news for you. Purpose boils. It's not passive. Have you ever noticed what anything that comes out of passive water, that is usually not good? All of the good things that you make in the kitchen, they come from boiling, and purpose is no different. Purpose should be passionate. It should be driven. It should be boiling. It should be a constant echo in your brain and in your heart. Why? Because you are that valuable. We need you. And so we need your purpose to be at a boiling point. Because whatever your life was meant to contribute to society, it is valuable. It's valuable to your family. It's valuable to your friends. It's valuable to the people you haven't even met yet. But if you keep on believing that you're supposed to be this just passive guy and there's all of these conversations going around gender norms and roles and all this stuff, and what it's going to do is it's going to cause a lot of confusion if you don't have your reference point aligned. It's going to challenge you in ways that are very overwhelming. And what do we do as men when we get to that point? We shut down. Because as men, we are not really interested in drama. And so when there's drama, we kind of, we shrink back because we don't want to deal with it. And I totally get that. I am like that. But there comes a time, there comes a place where, in spite what the drama is, as men, we need to step up, step in, lead, and have a voice. And I want you to know, I don't care what anybody else says, your role in society, we need you to step up, lead, and have a voice. But you can't do that if your reference point is misaligned. Your reference point needs to be rooted in things of character, of integrity, of honor, of service, of love, of compassion. And if you're rooted in the right things, if you're rooted in the right place, and all you've been waiting on is someone to give you permission, then consider this a public service announcement, a PSA. Consider this your PSA to step up, step in, lead, and use your voice. Speak in some of those areas you may have been told you shouldn't have an opinion about. No, speak to it because you're a leader. And when women and men both take their place, there's a blessing. There's a blessing in the earth. But right now, I believe the women are taking their place, but the men are absent and missing. And I want to take out an entire episode, if nothing else, to remind you of how valuable and needed you are. And don't you ever forget it. I hope you found this episode to be valuable. I hope it's something that can encourage you and add it to your life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you want. And I'll see you next week. But until then, remember, success is your destiny.